Good day, ladies and gentlemen, my name is RagingRaptor and I welcome you to a new missions guide. And today you are going to learn how to do the Vanguard missions for the Dravec, the latest personal mission chain. Yes, I know it's not a Black Rock yet, but I want to present to you all the missions I have done so far, so you know exactly how I've done them. And today, it is first of all very important with these Vanguard missions. This time, for the Dravec, you have to do them twice, with two different vehicles. This is on one hand a little interesting gimmick, if I have to say so myself. It obviously is a little bit annoying when you have a tank which is really good and you really like it, and if you want to grind it because there is a tier 11 you want to need, etc. On the other hand, it's also kind of cool that you have it to do it with two different vehicles. With the Vanguard missions itself, and also the ambush mission, it very often feels a little bit boring because these missions are not too varied, so you will stuck with the most tanks itself, or with the same tanks all over. But at least with assistance, I felt like there was quite a little of shuffling around, because sometimes there was one insanely good tank while the other one needed to be a little bit of a hack job. In any case, you also are not allowed to use any tier 6 vehicles, although I don't think that is that important with these types of missions, because suddenly you need to do a lot around 3.5 to 4,000 damage. Without further ado, let's jump straight into the first mission. In number 1, very simply, you have to kill one enemy heavy tank and be the top player by damage caused in your team. Now, obviously, you will see a lot of ideal tanks being the T803, the E5 and the tier 11 BZ79. The thing is though, like A, maybe you don't have them, or B, you suck in them, like the T803 and the E5, because guess what? This guy sucks in these tanks, because I'm like, oh, these tanks are strong, oh, I should perform in them, oh, I suck now in them because I want to overperform. In any case, you will also hear now my choices, or my picks, which I done the mission in. In this mission in particular, I did the IS-7 and the can opener. Well, obviously the can opener right now is a little bit of a meta slave tank, hold down herder, unpinnable herder, go get him champ. And the IS-7, well, it is still, it aged really well. It aged like a fine wine, you know. Maybe a Mutter Rothschild or something like that, you know. The IS-7 carried quite a lot of these missions, even though it was never the ideal or the preferable pick. In any case, top player, top damage. You can do it in lower tiers, you can do it in tier 7 if you feel comfortable there, because it's not about doing X amount of damage. So there is also this caveat with mission number 1. In number 2, you need to cause damage to enemy heavy tanks 8 times and do 1,500 damage to heavies. Now, you might think, damn, that's a lot of damage. 8 times, for example, 500 damage, that's 4,000 damage easily. Ba-ba-ba-ba-bong. Well, it says damage, not penetrating. So, if you already are very close to doing your damage, and for example, you are on Malinovka on the hill in an IS-7, and you suddenly notice that, hey, they're all hold down, you can barely pen them because your gold pen is very low, just shoot HE. HE does always damage if you hit properly, and yeah, that is how I personally cheesed that mission, very simply put. In the end, I was like, oh, I already did the damage, I need to do 3 times more damage, and I just shot HE at them, and it worked out. Obviously, ideal tanks for that would be hold down heavies like the T803, the E5, the tier 11 BZ. These are really strong vehicles right now, especially the T803 and the BZ. You can also do it in can opener, which was my second choice for this mission. But in the end, you can also do it in lower tiers. Lower tiers might be a little bit easier to do 8 times damage, and 1,500 damage on tier 7 is also totally doable. Might pick something like a Tiger 1, which has a high rate of fire and a decently low alpha. Or for example, Carnarvon Action X. These two also will work fantastically. In number 3, we have either kill 3 enemy heavy tanks of 3 different classes, like 1 heavy, medium and 1 tank destroyer, or do 500 ramming damage. If you have an IS-7 and a KR-1, we can just skip it. I did in the IS-7 and the BZ, the 75, not the 79. I don't have the 79 yet. The BZ was a suboptimal choice, but I don't have the KR-1 yet. But let's be honest, the KR-1 is such a colossal ramming machine. So, yeah, IS-7, KR-1 are the peaks for that specific mission. 277 would also work. And obviously, if you have it, the KV5. That one is also a fantastic ramming machine. In number 4, you need to do 3250 damage or block 2000 HP while stationary. Now, I think the 3250 damage is the easier choice. Simply put, look, 3000 DPG is considered to be now good or really good at tier 10. And at tier 11 it's good. It's not really good. Really good would be 4000, 5000, or well, it's very good, very, very good would be 5000. And insane would be like 6 or 7k, which the Gotcha Baby or Dakia play. In any case, 3250 damage in this day and age of World of Tanks with tier 11s being around should be doable. But if you want to do damage with while stationary, keep in mind that it really is stationary. That means the Taschendraht is a really, really good pick for that one. Or the mouse is suboptimal because you want to move. You really want to move because of your turret cheeks. And that is the main problem. You can do it in the E100. The E100 turret buff definitely helps, but the Taschendraht might be the better one. E3 works, Badger could theoretically work, but the armor is a little bit lackluster. That means the Breaker would be amazing for that mission. So keep that in mind. Again, I did it in the i7 and the Mäuschen. The mouse. In number 5, you need to get a kill in the first 4 minutes of a game and cause 1500 damage in the first 4 minutes. Now, if you want to be boring, you take the T803 and or the tier 11 beat set. You can also do it in KR1. If you are spicy, you can definitely do it in the i7 and you can also do it in the BZ75. Like, the good thing is 4 minutes sounds weird at first, but let's be honest, most games are over in 5 minutes. I guess that's why Wargaming doesn't showcase it to us anymore in the post-game stats. But jokes aside, many games do be very fast, so you should be able to do that. I personally think it is important to take fast vehicles, something like a 277, something like an IS-7. Preferably playing Platoon, playing World of Tanks with your friends is always a lot more fun, and they can prepare kills for you so you can easily yoinky, sploinky them. Just remember, for this mission you have to be a little bit more careful at how many hit points the enemy has. At number 6, you need to do 3500 damage to an enemy and kill them while they are in your view range. Now, this one is a tier 9 or tier 10 mission, simply out of the thing. 3500 damage means you have to go towards the upper ranges, and on the other hand, look, view range, higher tiers always have better view range. Like for example, FV215B, Super Conqueror, Chieftain, they all have full view range, meaning that you will always kill somebody in your view range usually, because the distances are around 445 meters. I personally did it in the in the BZ75 and the M48 pattern. Now, if you didn't play the pattern yet, please do. The pattern is amazing. It is so good since the gun handling changes. Like, yes, it still screws up sometimes, but every tank does. But man, it feels so good, and the hacker feels so good. Like, if you have a hacker, these missions are like M48 pattern hacker missions, you know. The hacker is such a good vehicle. God dang. It really puts the Leopard 120 into the shame, because it literally does everything better except a little bit of speed and I think alpha, but that's about it. At number 7, you need to block and do damage, which is equal to 3 times your tank's HP. That means either you do a lot of bouncing and a lot of damage in something like the Type 5 Heavy, the Taschenratte, the mouse, or you go for tanks which have a good mix between HP and damage. Don't take hardening, obviously, because that increases the amount of damage you need to do by times 3 of your HP. So tanks like the T803 definitely work, the tier 11 B set definitely works. I did it in the BZ75, but I was a little bit lucky with how much I bounced. And the other one was the pattern. Again, 2000 hit points, that's 6k damage. Maybe a little bit less if you bounce 1 or 2 shots, which you can with the pattern, or especially with the hacker. So that is a very, very easy mission. Just BZ75 and pattern for me, because I didn't have the hacker back then. In number 8, you need to do 2000 damage to enemy tanks which are U tier or higher within 50 meters, or just to 4000 damage. Now, the 2000 damage could work when you play something which is Unga Bunga into your face. Could also work with a turtle. Keep that in mind, but 50 meters is very, very tight. It's very, very close. That is why go for the 4000 damage. Should be a little bit easier, in my opinion, more consistent, and you don't really screw up your game because you try to Unga Bunga, but hey, you can play the KR1. as well, you know, just Unga Bunga, IS-7, Unga Bunga, ram somebody, and you have like half the damage done already. Personally, I did it in the BZ-75 and the M48 pattern. Numero 9, we are back with the high caliber. So either you're picking your favorite tier 7 tank, go on EU5 and hope for a small lobby, like a King Tiger, like a Tiger 1, or you just get good and play well and play very good and play it in a T803, for example. If you don't have the mod which I would use if it would work right now, which I have in Pro Mod, or which would be in Pro Mod, you would see how much hit points you have to do for the high caliber award, or if you see how many HP the whole team has, the enemy team, divided by 5, don't hit an enemy in green, and then you should be good to go. Personally, I did it somehow in the mouse, which is a little bit odd, but also in the M48 pattern, where I had a pretty decent 8k game. At number 9, you need to do either 4,500 damage or cause 1,500 damage to immobilized tanks. Now, if you want to do the damage to immobilized tanks, you might need some helping hands, like 250Bs or a friend which is doing a 50B or an E5, I don't know. Or just go for the damage. I think the damage is much easier. Like T803 works, the 140 works if you want to go for the D-track damage because of the high shell, well, high rate of fire of the shells. I didn't can open in the pattern, presumably with the damage. Good that there is a damage part to that mission and not just immobilized damage. At number 11, you need to kill 3 enemy vehicles at 100 meter or less. That one is a little bit annoying. Tanks which really work well for that would be like T803, would be like Tier 11 BZ. Tanks which you can know and want to play aggressive. Taschenratte would work. I did it in the Batcher and the M48 pattern. The Batcher game was actually was a nail biter because I was like darn, darn, it's getting close, please help me, don't push, etc. But it worked out, and with the pattern, it's just the pattern has such good mobility around, it's really a joy to play. But again, don't forget, you can play Platoon. Play a Platoon of free 430Us, or free Object 268 version 4s, or free hackers, I don't know. The world of tanks is your oyster. You can do what you want. And with friends, again, the game is a lot more fun when they prepare the kills for you. But you need to return a favor if you do that. At number 12, you need to do either 3,500 damage to TDs and mediums, or block 2,000 damage from TDs or mediums. So now, obviously, tanks which would be great for that would be the KR1 and the 260, because you can Unga Bunga into the TDs and hope on the mediums and hope you bounce the 2,000 damage. But we'll get to that in a bit. Or you take a medium tank, so you already have an enemy medium tank, which can give you like 2,000 damage if you trade properly. I did it in the M48 pattern, it was another 8k game, and then I did it on the mouse, on Outpost. And here I want to do a quick little tangent, so you can skip that if you don't want to hear it and go to the next mission. The thing is, I believe there is loads of bad games right now, and that is because a lot of people started to stop grinding for the tier 11s but started to focus onto the mission. And sadly enough, while this skipping between 2 different tanks for these missions is kind of fun, most of these missions, or at least a third of these missions, make you want to play like an idiot. That's pretty much it. You basically have to play like an idiot. Here on Outpost, I knew that the enemy, it was a tier 9 game, they had a lot of TDs. So I went onto the medium TD flank to just drive through the open to bounce the 2,000 damage. But it was like, you know what, let's do it easy, I don't care. I forsaken the heavy line and was like, yeah, if you lose it, it's whatever. And this is a little bit of a problem with these missions. You tend to very often not play on win, but play on mission, which in at least a third of the cases feels like you're not want to play for the win. This one is a prime example. Funnily enough, we actually did win the game. Somehow I carried that with like, if you want to count blocking, was 11k combined, like 6k damage, 5k blocked. So that was pretty nifty. But yeah, that was the tangent. Let's move over to number 13, and that is to destroy 3 enemy heavy tanks and medium tanks, or do 3,500 damage to enemy heavies or medium tanks. Well, again, here it is preferably now to play something like a heavy tank or a medium tank, like T803, KR1, Tier 11 BZ. I personally did it in the M48 Patton and the IS-7. The Patton game was apparently on Proco and the IS-7 on Berlin. But in the end, if you are a decent medium and heavy tank player, Patton Hacker definitely works well, Tier 3. And just focus on doing damage to heavies, which is the bulk of the enemy HP anyway at the moment. In number 14, you need to do 3500 HP of damage to enemies which shot you. Now obviously you can do it in something like the Tier 3, a hold-out tank. Super Conqueror, a hold-down tank. The Tier 11 B set, a hold-down tank. Type 71, Type 5. Heavy. You can also do it in the Patton or the IS-7, which I did it in. The Hacker definitely also would work. The thing is about this mission, you can for example do 2000 damage to a mouse, but if it doesn't shoot you, a little bit unfortunate, innit? He needs to shoot you, and ramming doesn't count because they need to do damage by hitting you, as far as I'm aware. Maybe the replay shows something different. So that was a funny situation with the IS-7. I YOLO'd down on China's border, and the FV, which I shot and would have finished the mission, missed me, point blank. So I was like, you know what, there's a Stritzwagen, kick by, rammed the Stritzwagen, shot him, and he shot me, bounced me, and the mission was done, because I did like 1000 damage to him, and that was what I was remaining, and bada bang, bada boom, mission done. Just keep that in mind, that you can do damage to somebody else, but they do need to hit you. But if they hit you, you automatically get the damage you dealt to them added to that mission. So it's not, they have to hit you first, and then you can start damaging them. That would be stupid. And in the last mission, cause, receive, and block a total of 9000 damage. It's pretty darn easy, especially with those high armored tanks around, like the Taschendrache, like the E100, like the Type 5 Heavy, like the Maus. It is super chill. They also have a lot of hit points. I played like an absolute bonobo and did it first try in the Maus and the Type 5 Heavy, doing like sub 3k damage in both of them. But I have so much hit points, I have so much armor, I was able to just completely block the living heck out of the enemy. And with that, we have all these missions done. So now, what does that mean for you? Well, in the comment section below, you will tell me that I'm an idiot for not saying to use the IS-4, for example, or the ST2, because these all work, or other tanks which I've missed, like the 430U, or etc, etc, etc. Let me know which tanks you used for those missions, which one you are stuck on. Maybe I can give you a bit more inputs and so on. And that is, in my opinion, very, very important. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and let me know. Next up, ambush or assistance? I want to know. My name is RagingRaptor, and I see you around, and good luck hunting the Dravec.